Welcome to episode 86 of the Girl About the Globe podcast. In this episode, I'm joined by Pelumi Nubi, co-founder of The Black Explorer, to transport you to the continent of Africa. If you've ever been intrigued by the thought of travelling to Africa, this podcast episode is for you. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Girl About the Globe, a podcast for you, the solo female traveller, empowering women to travel solo with maximum adventure, minimum impact.
Welcome to a dose of inspiration for the solo traveller. Today I am joined by Pelumi Nubi, who is originally from Nigeria and grew up in London. Pelumi is a fellow solo traveller and joins me today to discuss solo travelling in Africa. Hi Pelumi, great to meet you.
Hi Lisa, thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad to be here today.
I'm really excited to talk about Africa, but before we transport ourselves across to that continent, can you just tell me a little bit more about you? So how long have you been solo travelling and what type of activities do you normally look for when you go travelling?
Absolutely. So a bit about me, like you said, I was born in Nigeria, grew up in the UK, and that movement, that migration kind of sparked the traveler in me. So this was as young as I was 10 years old. I've just kind of like been in awe of the variation of, what the world has to offer, that you go to a certain place and you can have such immersive cultural experiences and really just be able to immerse yourself in it. So that's kind of how my travel was birthed, and it's kind of like become another link, like a really ingrained part of me. I have been doing solo travel, I'll say since 2016, early 2017. That's when I really launched my brand, Black Kintsugi, which is a Japanese word which means to mend with gold. And I've just really enjoyed traveling by myself. I always tell people, if you've never done solo travel, you absolutely should. I describe it like an exhale. Like imagine just holding your breath for a very long time and then having the opportunity to exhale or, inhale, really taking in all that oxygen and just being like, wow, like it allows me to decompress. It teaches me, it motivates me. It reminds me of how self-reliant and resilient I can be at the same time. And when it comes to traveling, I love, like I said, cultural immersive experiences, really hanging out with the locals, get to know their story. I'm a true seeker as well, so I'll be jumping up something or doing something crazy about traveling. But yeah, I really do enjoy a good adventure.
Well, Africa is definitely the continent to immerse yourself in, isn't it? And to get to know the local people, I think. It's some of the regions, you don't really go there to sightsee, do you? You do go there to see the culture and to get to know about the people.
Absolutely.
And you spent 3 months exploring 10 countries in Africa, is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. So I'm a co-founder of a magazine called The Black Explorer.
Brilliant.
And for the latest issue that just came out, it's called Africa is Not a Country, because that's a very big misconception people do have. And before that came out, I was like, you know what, for us to put this out there, it'd be great to actually I've explored Africa intensely. I think 2019, I explored a few countries, Western Africa, but I was like, you know what? I cannot be preaching this stuff if I haven't really, done it myself. So it was both. It was something I always wanted to do, road trip across the continent. So I started in East Africa. I was able to do Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda. And then I did Uganda previously, and then I flew down to South Africa, and I did Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, and Mozambique. So It was also all by myself. It was a wild adventure. That's exactly the word I kept saying each time.
That is so amazing. And you said you did that all by yourself and on a road trip.
Yes. So in terms of roads, I flew the first beginning, but then once I got to South Africa, the rest of it was by road from Namibia all the way to Mozambique, which was my final destination before flying back to the UK. I did Namibia, which was probably one of my craziest. I definitely recommend, if you're ever in Namibia, rent a 4x4, do a safari, like go around. So I did like a whole loop from Windhoek all the way down up north and all the way down to Fish Canyon, which is the second largest canyon in the world, and then back again by myself. It took 2 weeks, self-driving. So that was just adrenaline rush right there.
That's so brave to drive around Africa. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something that was like an ongoing. I remember this is a funny story I keep telling people. There was a if you research, driving around Namibia, the one thing you get to say is you hear, you're gonna pop a tire. You need spare tires, everything like that. So when I was traveling, I make sure I got 2 spare tires on the car. But funny story, before the day before the trip, I was like, wait a minute, I've never changed a car tire by myself. Like I usually get like, an emergency roadside person, like an AA, like, I have the insurance on my car. I've never done it by myself. So this was me almost midnight of the day of travel, trying to Google how do I change a 4x4 tire.
That would be me
Yeah,
as well. I've got no idea.
as prepared as they will say I was prepared.
You've spoken a bit about Namibia. Is that one of your favorite countries on this trip? Because I've been to Namibia and I had no expectation of the country, and it absolutely blew me away. There's just so much to see and do there, and the landscape is just stunning.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. Like yourself, I had no expectations as well. I knew, one of the recommendation when I was reading and researching was people was like, you can join like a tour group, but if you really wanted to explore, rent a car. That way you have the flexibility and stuff like that. So straight away, I had the freedom to explore. And like you said, it's just such a vast land. Like I kept saying, wow, like, like,
Yeah.
you go to some lake, but you get to some place and you're just like, this isn't real. Like, so yeah, it's definitely of all the countries, it's probably, yeah, it's definitely one that left an impact in terms of both the wildness of just the adventure. I think, like I said, born in Lagos, we have 200 million people in Nigeria, and Namibia has 2 million. So it's such a striking in terms of the population is not as dense. And the landscape is so vast. So it was such a big contrast from where I was born and kind of what I'm used to. So yeah, that was definitely something that also left a mark or imprint on me.
What was your second favorite country out of all of them? I'm so jealous that you went to Mozambique as well. That's one of the countries that I'd really like to go to.
I definitely would. I would need to visit Mozambique again. Being the last country, I was suffering a little bit from a burnout, so
Mhm.
I was I was very much napping and looking forward to getting back home. So I don't think I did Mozambique justice. There was just a lot of hiccups in terms of crossing the border, and I think a hurricane or there was like some earth issue in terms of hurricane hitting a particular region we wanted to explore, which was quite sad. So yeah, there was a bit of complexity in terms of Mozambique, but I'll say my second favorite country was probably Tanzania. Yeah, I stayed in Zanzibar, and I've never seen water so blue and sand so white. Like it was incredible. It was a bang. It was my first country in terms of at the start of the trip, so it was definitely a good country to start with. Again, cultural immersiveness, the happy people, just so much to see from going from Stone Town, Old Town, all the way. It just seemed to have everything. If you want a bit of, kind of like, being the vibe of people, you had that. If you want to be isolated and just by the beach by yourself, you had that. So it just gave so much variety, and it was just, yeah, absolutely present, absolutely pleasant place to be.
Amazing. I think what's interesting as well about when you travel in Africa is the different languages in the different countries. So I think Mozambique, for example, is Portuguese, is it? And then Rwanda used to be French. I recently came back from Rwanda, and it's changing quite a lot. What was your impression of Rwanda?
Mm. I think being the genocide happening quite recent,
Mm.
I'm quite amazed as how much progression and how much people have just kind of gone on with life with the vow and the promise of it never happening again.
Yeah.
So the resilience of the people is just, it blows my mind. So that's kind of one thing I definitely took away from that. That humans, we are built to really take, the bad, the good, the ugly. As a landscape is quite small, so was able to see quite a lot within the time I was there. It was one of these countries I kept extending my stay. I think I extended it 2 or 3 times. So I definitely enjoyed it there. They did, obviously, I was traveling during the pandemic, so they did have quite a stronghold and quite restriction in terms of mask wearing and kind of like, amount of tests you had to do. You had to test to go to the national parks and stuff like that. So yeah, I think they definitely, it left an imprint from the genocide point of view, and just kind of seeing how everybody's kind of getting on with their everyday life and trying to just live with that horrific moment of that horrific history, the burden they have to carry with that. So yeah, it's a lot to say, but that's, I'll say,
Yeah,
one brief moment we have.
yeah, it's awful,
What was
isn't it?
your impression of your stay?
I was really surprised. I was learning French to think that it was going to make my life there a little bit easier. And then I realized that they now speak English because their language changed from French to English. But some of them
Yeah.
don't speak English or French, they speak the local language. So that was interesting. I didn't realize it was so
Mm.
green. I didn't realize there was such a diverse landscape.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that you could see the Big
Mm.
Five, and then there was Lake Kivu, which is just so magical. I wasn't prepared for the altitude. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize how high some of the places
Oh
were,
yeah.
and the
Oh
amount
yeah.
of
Oh yeah.
and the amount of community-based tourism there. I've never been to a country where, not yet anyway, where I've seen so many projects that are helping the local community, and you can help the beekeeper make a beehive, you can make pottery with a local village. It's such a great country to immerse yourself and actually learn more about the culture, I found.
Having like a mountain view. This, wherever you are, you got a mountain view. I thought that was so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I can see why it's called, is it called The Country of a Thousand Hills? Is that the title?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I can see why it's
absolutely.
called that, definitely. One thing that I wasn't prepared for was the impact that the history of the country had on me. I don't know how that
Mm.
impacted you as well, but obviously I knew a little bit about the genocide before I went, and I think it's a good idea to read about that before you go, just to be a bit mentally prepared. But after being in the country and visiting a couple of the memorial sites as well,
Mm.
when I left Rwanda, I struggled a few days afterwards, and I think I was processing everything that I saw because I'm,
Mm.
I'm quite a sensitive person. So I think you really need to be prepared for learning more about the history and how it might impact you. I don't know how you felt about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think I went to the Genocide Museum, and just from you get to watch the preview before you even go into the museum. You just like a short film, and I was bawling my eyes out, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this, because this was
Mm.
just meant to be like raw. Before you then walked into the museum, which was, you can spend an hour, 2 hours in there. That's the amount of content that was there, and the stories and everything. So, like you said, it's definitely something to mentally prepare for. And it's a history that we have to respect. This thing did happen, but I think it's definitely, just speaking to like the locals and stuff like that, is something that they have personally vowed that is never going to happen again, and that just gives a weird reassurance. I think that's kind of what I held on to. But you are totally right, it is quite emotionally, and you can feel it, because this is very recent. I think with genocide you hear about like Hitler, and things that happened years back, like history. but this doesn't feel like history. This feels like yesterday. So I think that was the big thing about it. It was just so recent, that you can still feel it. You can still feel it pulsing through the country, the city. And I was in Kigali most of the time, so you can still see it and feel it. And these are people that have to live with. They're still living people. Like it's not history passed on. It's not like telling
Yeah,
your children about stories. These are very much people that have been through this trauma. So yeah, you're very right. It's definitely something. But hopefully the leaders can hold on to the reassurance that these are people that vowed that it will never happen again. And yeah, I think the hope of that was something I just held on to personally.
definitely. I do really recommend going to Rwanda. I think it's such an amazing country with so much to offer. It's a great place. And tell us about the other countries that you went to. Did any of them surprise you?
Surprise, yeah, absolutely. Kenya was great. Kenya, I think, was there was a place, I'm trying to remember the name exactly so I can recommend this place. So because when I thought about Kenya, safari was a thing, but
Mhm.
there is so much to Kenya than safaris. If you're ever in Kenya, make your way down to Lamu. Lamu is a place lost in time.
Mm.
Imagine, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like it's trapped in the most blissful way. There are no cars allowed in the island. There are no cars. They still ride donkeys over there. So just imagine that kind of a place. So
Yeah.
I felt myself slowing right down. It was so bad. Like I felt like I had to get rid of my Western clothes straight away. Like I arrived at the island like wearing jeans and the top, and I was like, no, this is not working. So I had to go shopping straight away. Bought like a couple of just like African dress, like those the long colorful dresses. I think I bought 3 or 4 because I was like I needed that freedom. Jeans just couldn't do it. Like it's such a beautiful beauty if you want to recharge and they do like yoga kind of things. So if you're into that kind of recharge refresh, I absolutely recommend Lamu. So that was a pleasant surprise for me, just having like a lost paradise that
That's
wasn't
amazing.
disturbed too much. Yeah, absolutely. So that was quite nice. Botswana was great. It was rainy season, so this is obviously something to do a bit of a research for. It poured like nothing in my time in Botswana. Um,
Like England.
but I was still able, honestly, like it rained almost every single day I was there.
Oh no.
But that's the thing about traveling. It teaches you to just kind of make do with what you have. I was able to still do a bit of a safari there, but I was able to do some like, exploring the lake. So yeah, it was kind of again a thing I would love to go back. There's some countries you just have to experience it in different seasons. So like, the rainy, the dry season, you have totally different experiences. But I think each country had its own unique twist, its own unique taste. Malawi, I've always wanted to go to Malawi, and I was embraced like nothing before. Like the people are welcoming. So that was a really, really nice surprise. So yeah, I'll say every country. I didn't have any terrible or crazy experience. Maybe crossing the border, a few, hiccups in terms of visa requirement, no visa requirement. But yeah, there was a few hiccups crossing the border. But aside from that, every country had its own unique twist, and yeah, it kept me on my toes, definitely.
Which countries did you find the easiest to travel alone in?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a very good question. I'll go back to, but I think because I was just kind of by myself and that my little bubble, Namibia. I think people were, yeah, I'll say Namibia was easy, but then I was just like by myself. Like I had my 4x4 and I was moving to different destination to navigate Tanzania. I think if you have, especially Zanzibar, if you have like a guide, and I got a female guide, which is something that is very rare in the industry. It's very male dominated. Happy to share contacts and stuff.
Yeah.
But she was very, very lovely. So like having a female guide was kind of great. And I know solo travelers, you might feel more comfortable having, as a female, having a female guide. I know I'm a very extroverted person, and I don't want to make assumption that people might feel as comfortable as I am in very weird situations. So my weird situation is very high. The bar, the bar is quite high for me to go, oh, I'm a bit scared. So I would say there was no country that I felt scared in or nervous in. And I think that's another thing about moving within the African continent, being a Black woman, being a woman of color. I was able to blend in, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that does make
There's
sense.
some places I go to and exactly. There's some places I go to and I stick out like a sore thumb. And those are the moments like my high alert or my high radar comes on. But moments where I'm considered as their sister, as their friend next door, it's very easy to navigate those spaces. And that's a privilege I definitely do not take for granted in moments like those. So yeah.
It sounds like you had a different experience to how I experienced some of Africa, but then I'm traveling as a white woman. So I did find
Exactly.
I did find in Uganda and Rwanda, because I recently spent 2 weeks in each of them, just over a month ago, and people look at you, and I kind of expected that to happen anyway. But then I actually found myself,
Mm,
they're looking at me because they're curious, it's not menacing or anything like that. But then I also found myself
mhm.
looking at tourists. So whenever I saw two tourists together who are obviously from Europe and white, I found myself staring at them as well. So I think it's just like, like a curious thing, and because you just don't see that many, you do just stick out, really, don't you? Especially if you're by yourself. So that's why I think it's quite a good idea. For me, anyway, I felt more comfortable being with a guide. I was with a guide for 4 days in Uganda, even though I was there for 2 weeks. And then I was with a guide
Mhm.
for a week in Rwanda. And it just made it easier for me to travel around. He knew the local
Absolutely.
language, he knew the culture, and it was more comfortable. Even though I was able to do it solo, it just kind of depends what experience you're after, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think definitely having someone that is local. In terms of solo travel, one of my best tips is to make international friends. Just relating to what you said about having a guide, like having someone that is a local, and just social media allows for that, for you to make connections and find people that live in these places and befriend them before you go there. It just allows you to have that kind of like someone that knows the ways, knows the routes, and just makes it easier to navigate um, by yourself in those spaces.
Definitely. Definitely. Did you find it easy to meet other people? And did you see many other women traveling alone?
Good question. The first one again, Zanzibar. I think that's why it was such a pleasant experience. I actually made a friend, which now we become friends because she was from London, and we're taking a boat to Prison Island. And she was the only one, and I was like, hey, before she needs, her name is Sarah, lovely lady. And she was doing this solo travel. She has been there. She was there for about 2 weeks already, and she had a couple more days. So we hanged out for the rest of the time she was around for, which was really, really cool. So that was the person that, and now we're back in London. We are still communicating. We're still thinking of probably putting another plan together to go somewhere together. So that's the joy of meeting people on
Yeah.
the road. I think intentionality. So there are definitely some things you can put in place in order to meet more people. For example, staying in hostels and stuff like that. If that's up your street, that just creates avenues to make more people or meet more people. Guides usually become friends because I just kind of keep in touch even after I leave the places. I think just kind of like passing on the day or spending the day together. I think going on like tours and stuff like that. These people are like on by themselves. You can kind of exchange contacts and meet up with lunch or brunch. Just hashtags, social media hashtags. See if someone is, most people tend to delay posting, but some people post in real time and just like, hey, by the way, I'm around too. Do you want to hang out? Do you want to stuff? So that's happened in a few occasion. But definitely, the Sarah person I met in Zanzibar was someone that definitely sticked out because we happened to be coming from the same place and meeting across the ocean that we probably would never have met, even though we lived in the same city. So yeah, I think that's the joy of solo travel, just meeting and connecting with new people. Absolutely.
Definitely. And are there any hidden gems in the continent, and not just from these 10 countries that you went to in the 3 months, but are there any hidden gems in the whole continent of Africa that you recommend?
Too many. That's
Massive
the answer.
question.
Too many. Oh wow, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
Each
How long
place
have you got? Yeah.
exactly, like how long have you got? But one thing I would definitely recommend is checking out the Africa is Not a Country magazine, because one thing about it was contributed by people. So they were able to tell the tales from their perspective, or their visiting, or their local, or stuff like that. Like even places I was like, wow, I didn't know this was in Zanzibar, or this was in Zimbabwe, or this was in Kenya, or this was in Nigeria, or in Ghana. Like I know these kind of are places that people are going to, and they're kind of getting to know more about it. I cannot even answer that question. There's just
Yeah.
so much. What I would say is, if you go to the continent, you will not be disappointed. That I can 100% put a bet on it. You won't be disappointed.
Are there any countries that you haven't been to yet that you want to visit in Africa?
Oh yeah, too many. Again, Africa is 54 countries. I think I've probably been to 20, if not less. So there's so many more I would love to see. People love the roots, the all the way from Egypt. Funnily enough, I haven't been to Egypt. I'm like, how have I not been to Egypt?
Yeah.
So that I do. Very, very soon. It's definitely up there. But this year, I definitely want to see. I'm flying to Nigeria for a friend's wedding, and I'm trying to incorporate Senegal and Cape Verde for my own birthday too as well, which is in December time. So I'll probably be in Senegal with a few friends in December. So those are top three. If I can squeeze in a few more, I would love to. But yeah, Senegal, I want to go. I've been saying I need to go to Senegal.
Oh, fantastic. I've been to Senegal, and I think it's a really great introduction to West Africa for people who are, especially for solo females who are feeling a bit intrepid about going to West Africa. I definitely recommend Senegal for
I'll message you for some tips then.
And also, you mentioned Cape Verde, and because
Yeah.
well, we're both from England, aren't we? I've seen that Cape Verde is actually becoming more popular, especially with package holidays for Brits
Mm,
going there. And I think
mm.
maybe it's because of the guaranteed weather. Maybe they've now got more tourism infrastructure. But it was really interesting to see Cape Verde as one of the most popular destinations a few months ago for people to go on holiday. So I definitely want to go there and see what the different islands are all about as well.
Absolutely. Like there's a package. I think a lot of airlines are trying to connect it. Like there's a really, really affordable airline from Nigeria to Cape Verde. That's when I first heard of it, because all my Nigerian friends were all going to Cape Verde. And I'm like, where is this place? What's going on there? And
Yeah,
it looks
exactly.
good. Like it just, like said, amazing weather. It feels like you're in paradise. And I love the fact that it's literally just adjacent or across from Senegal. So it feels like a good compact trip to do together, which is my plan personally. But like you said, it's definitely a destination that has been putting a lot of effort in their tourism and their marketing campaigns. So yeah, they're doing a good job over there. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's not that far from the Canaries either, is it really? Well, it doesn't look that far on the map.
Oh,
It's kind of just north from them. So it's a good alternative for people who want to visit African islands, but just not have the Spanish Canary Islands, I guess. What do you think is Africa's attraction to women traveling alone? I guess that would apply to which region of Africa you travel to.
the culture of the continent is quite strong in terms of female impact and female entrepreneurship. And you see women that, just are breadwinners in a way, because they go to the market, they have the resilience, they have the capacity, And that is what solo travel kind of tells me about my self-reliance and my self-resilience. And I see that every day while in the continent, like women that do the thing, they walk the walk and they talk the talk, so that is quite encouraging to see, and that just kind of like, attracts more female solo travelers. Like any other thing, there's definitely the risk, you get to, just traveling solo, there's always that risk. Is not what is definitely something worth highlighting. But I think the pleasure slash the joy of travel that comes with it, is a lot more greater. So I say at the continent, safety is something that again, I'm talking from someone that is as a black, so a black female, so I would definitely take everything I'm saying, do take it with a pinch of salt. But yeah, I found navigating, the country pretty safely, and not like the first taste of safety in terms of, I did a road trip from Lagos, Nigeria, all the way to Ghana. So I crossed about 4 borders, and that was pretty safe. I was able to do that. I went with friends, so that wasn't solo, but it was doable. And you hear people say, "Oh, but kidnapping is a thing," and people, and it's very much a thing. Please don't get me wrong; it's very, very much a thing. But these things also happen in the Western world. It also happen in other places in Asia, in other places. So
Yeah,
I
South
feel like
America.
if you want to go, yeah, if you want to go, go. And I always tell people, when I feel fear, I always ask, is this my fear? Or is it fear that has been projected onto me? Is it fear that has been given to me by someone else? And if it's not mine, then I go to those places. So yeah, that's kind of it as a continent. It's a place that is so rich. That's why I found it so hard when you say pick a thing or recommend the thing. It's like you will find surplus to do. You will not be bored. Someone asked that question, was I ever bored? I was like, sis, I was not bored. um so yeah, that's kind of what the appeal is. Just it feels like home. It is home, to me personally, and there's just so much to see and do. And yeah, it's highly recommended.
Definitely. And I love the fact there are so many different regions and it's so diverse as well. And I've been quite lucky to have
Mm,
traveled to quite a few of the different regions, and they all kind of give you a different experience, really, don't they? I think the East
absolutely.
Coast, the East Coast, you can obviously see the big five, and you've got the wildlife, and you've got Zanzibar. And I did that when I was younger, and it's a great party destination as well. I probably shouldn't be promoting it's a party destination, but you get you get a
It
lot.
is.
Yeah, if you're looking for a starter trip in Africa, then the East Coast, I think, definitely, and you can
Yes.
get quite a
Yes.
few
You
over.
party on the beach. I haven't had sand going through my legs and floating. And the Maasai people, for example, they give you a run for your money. Like my niece knew I danced the next day.
Wow. I do think that part of it is just life changing. I do think, an African
Absolutely.
trip can just really open your mind and really be life changing. And I think also, if people are a bit worried about going by themselves, there are lots of group travel that you can do. I don't know if you've heard of some of the companies, but I've done 3 overlanding camping trips, 2 in West Africa and 1 in East Africa. And they're such a good way of seeing the countries on a budget, being with people, learning more about the culture, seeing the wildlife. Yeah, so group travel also is a good way of, or even doing it for a couple of countries and then getting your head around the region and then going off and doing the rest of it yourself as well.
Yeah, I definitely recommend. These are 3 on top of my head that I'll say I recommend that travels within the continent. There's one called Ajala Tour. She did a tour recently, and I think it was $1,000 for both Zanzibar and Kenya, which is just crazy affordable for like 2 weeks. Um, so if you want affordability, Ajala Tour is great. If you're a content creator and you love kind of like cinematic videos and stuff like that, and you just kind of like love to capture content while in the continent, oh, that rhymes, content in the continent. I would definitely recommend Wind Collective. Again, black owned, black immersed, really great. Again, that's Wind Collective. And if you want Ghana and they do a few other countries, but mostly Ghana. So if you're already planning Dirty December, which is like a December celebration where people go homecoming, back return home, things like that, and you just want to party and have a good time and have a Ghanaian experience, then I recommend Salted Charlie. So those are the three that top of mind that I definitely vouch with.
Fantastic. It's always good to have recommendations, isn't it? And this is
Absolutely.
This is a really hard question, but if you only had a month to see the best of the continent, what would your itinerary be? Say you've never been to
1
Africa
month.
before.
That's not enough.
Say you've never been before, and you want to go and you want to see what Africa's all about.
I'm going to be biased. This is such a biased response, but you need to go west. You need to go west because you can do like a whole ass long trip. And obviously start with my hometown, start in Nigeria. Like, come on, like Nigerians, like we're the party. So I would say start west. You have the coast and the land. You can road trip it. I think you can do it within a month, starting from Lagos, Nigeria, all the way to Senegal, and just and then you see Benin. You have the voodoo and all of that, kind of like their beliefs and all of that. You can be like the Python, temple and stuff like that. And then you can go to Togo and all of that. You can then go to Ghana. You can hit Sierra Leone and just keep going all the way to Senegal. So I think a month doing that, it will be intense, but it will be the epic one. And that's a very biased response because I want you guys to see Nigeria, so that's why I chose that.
I still haven't been there actually. That's on my list.
What? Oh, Lisa, stop it! Come December, I'll host you.
Oh, okay. I'll stay in touch with you for that one. And I was going to ask, is there anything to do there in the evenings as a solo? But you mentioned about dancing with the Maasai before, and I imagine the most things to do in the evenings are cultural things, are they?
Yeah, I think because it gets quite. I don't think at least in my experience, we don't typically have like long days or long nights. As within Europe, we experience like it doesn't get dark. At least in the UK, till almost 10 p.m. Within at least when I've been traveling by 6, 7, things are pretty dark already. So is that you're doing like an evening, like a kind of like a party kind of night, or you are typically kind of like just hanging out, maybe like in a community setting, having supper, just stories, tales. It really depends. I don't want to generic. Again, the continent is very, very diverse, and very, this is just based on where I have visited and where I know. But yeah, if you're in Lagos, for example, again, it's quite like a party scene if that's kind of your thing. If not, most people tend to like, if you're religious, they go to church and mosque, and if you are just kind of like wanting to but if you're a tourist, most of the thing will probably be done in the daytime, and then the evening you can kind of relax and recuperate, except you want to have a bit of nightlife. There's surplus of food. You can have like street food, you can have like 5-star classic. All depends on your taste and kind of what you're going for. But yeah, there's always something to do. It's like New York City, it doesn't sleep.
And is there anywhere that you would avoid that you've been to?
I personally did not have the best experience when I went to Morocco, Marrakesh. I felt the catcalling was a bit intimidating and quite a lot. So this is from someone who, like I said, has a very high tolerance of, and this is kind of the feedback I've gotten from quite a few people, so I know it's not me. I think as a group travel, amazing. People go to fairs, they go to Casablanca, am I saying that right? I'm not so sure. They go to different regions and they've had amazing experience. But Marrakesh, I think definitely in terms of just yeah, it's very beautiful place. Please don't get me wrong, and I definitely always say don't let one experience of one person determine your view of the whole city or country. So it's a place I will give a second chance. I think just not solo. So yeah, just walking through the market, just the amount of catcalling, the amount of sexual harassment, you can say it as that, being also touching and just not feeling safe, So I would say that's one place that I was like, I don't think I want to go back by myself, but I would love a girl trip there because, like I said, it's a very beautiful place to be. But they do have a rising kind of like sexual assault and kind of things that has been known, and I think it's just a cultural norm now, which is when that something become a norm is a big issue for me. It seems like a red flag. It seems like nothing is really being done from the government, from just high place or high authorities. Funny enough, I was actually in one of their tourism events in London, and they flagged this, and they were like, "Oh, we know that safety is not our strong point, but we are very culturally diverse." And I was like, no, I don't think that's how to go about it. I think you should
Yeah.
focus on the issue rather than, just put a wrapping paper and say, oh, but we have other things to offer. But no, there's still issues. So yeah, I think it's definitely something that can be off-putting, and this is something that within the solo community has come up over and over and over again. So I know it wasn't just a one-off thing. It's whenever people, that's kind of one of the things they say, I didn't feel really safe, or I didn't really feel respected as a woman.
Yeah, I kind of had a similar experience in Marrakesh as well. I'd been there with someone and then I went back by myself, and I just found this constant scamming and the constant hassle. It's just uncomfortable, frustrating, annoying, and it does put you off the country. But then I went to Ouarzazate, took a local bus, went there. I had a completely different experience in Ouarzazate, and I've heard other female travellers say that if you're outside of Marrakesh, it's that from their experience so far, it hasn't been that bad. So maybe, like you're saying, it's a good idea to get a guide for Marrakesh and then try and or go on a tour group and just get out and explore the rest of the country, because don't let Marrakesh put you off the whole of Morocco.
Absolutely. I agree with that advice. Absolutely.
What would you say to someone who's looking to go to Africa for the first time and they're unsure about it?
Your uncertainty is very valid. I think we're very quick to dismiss people's uncertainty. Solo travel can be daunting, and it's a brave step that you're even thinking about it. I'll say do a lot of preparation. I spend a lot of time just researching. Shout out to bloggers, YouTubers. Like, you guys are freaking amazing because just being the podcasters, just hearing people's story, seeing their journey, reading about it, just provides an insight. Especially post pandemic, a lot of change, a lot of things shut down. So just having that updated information. So do your research, make sure you're checking the dates of the articles of stuff. So just to make sure that things are up to date. But yeah, I think just the same thing you would apply if you're, like I said, going to traveling within Asia or traveling within Europe. Is the same principle, inform your loved ones where you are, do the basic, maybe you just try to stay out late so that you're just safe in that aspect of things. So I would say the same thing apply within the continent, as it would be any other place. But yeah, it's a brave step you're taking. Just do as much research as you can. It still wouldn't prepare you. There'll still be hiccups. That's definitely something I want to put out there. No matter how much of research you do, there will still be hiccups. But at least you can be prepared for those hiccups, or at least you may have read something that just allows you to handle the situation a bit better. Yeah, go for it. Go for it. It's life changing, like Lisa said. It really teaches you resilience and teaches you that you can do it in whatever you put your mind to. So I'm cheering you on. If you have any direct questions, DMs, message, emails are always open to answer them. But do it. Absolutely do it. just like Nike.
Just do it. Yeah. Fantastic. And is there anything else that you wanted to add about Africa? And also, if you want to tell us more about what you do as well for the Black community, then feel free to share that.
I think the only thing I definitely wanted to mention was I am launching travel affirmation cards. I realized that affirmations are designed for like wealth attraction or but there was nothing directly within the travel space. So July 1st, the very first physical pack, you'll be able to get your hand on it. It's 32 affirmations that just affirm the traveler in you. So if you suffer from travel anxiety, if this is your first solo trip, if you're a bit nervous about going to places and you want that reassurance, that affirmation that you can use daily, this is something definitely to have. So it's the size of a pack of cards. So you can fit it into your pocket, into your handbag, into your backpack, if you're backpacking. And you can just pull it out in different situations where, if you're a bit nervous while flying, if you just, in a strange bus stop and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And you just want a bit of reassurance, it definitely affirms and comfort the traveler in you. So it is called Comfy Trav. That's the name of the company. And it is our first physical product, which is a pack of affirmation cards. So I'm really excited for travelers around the world to be able to use that. And yeah, it's something I wish I had during my African trip because there were some moments, like I said, where hiccups would happen. And it would just have been nice to have something that just reassured me that I'm at the right step and doing the right thing. So yeah, that's definitely something that is birthing or coming up soon. So you guys are one of the first people to hear about it. So
Fantastic.
I hope you grab a coffee. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well done, Pelumi.
So yeah, thank you, Lisa. But yeah, you can check it out, www.comfytrav, that's COMFY and trav, because I feel like traveling should be comfortable, should feel like a known it makes you step out of your comfort zone, but you need to be comfortable with the idea before you can do it. As humans, if things are petrifying to us, we would rather, do the flight or flight response. We don't really lean into that. So yeah, that's what's happening there. But yeah, so the Black Explorer, the goal for that is to amplify Black travel. It's my co-founder Ella, and we do a biannual print magazine. So this is something you can consume in the evening after work and just really enjoy Black travel. We found that within the media company, it is something that is not amplified. It's something that is always seen from the negative point of view. So we wanted to change that narrative. And yeah, that's been going on for about 2 years. It was birthed in the middle of the pandemic. I think all good ideas were birthed in the middle of the pandemic.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's it really. And yeah, like I said, there's a new issue called Africa is Not a Country, and it's sold on our website, blackexplorer.com. Yeah, you can grab a copy over there too as well. But yeah, Comfy Trav, definitely check it out, your travel information and the Black Explorer for any kind of like storytelling and getting to know more about traveling. But yeah, Africa is definitely a place to explore. It's definitely a place to immerse yourself with. Throw away every idea, everything that the media has fed you, and you will be pleasantly surprised, as Lisa said. It really is life-changing.
Fantastic. Oh, it's been so good talking to you about Africa. It's been so lovely to meet you, Pelumi. And I wish you every success in the future.
Thank you so, so much. I'm so grateful. Thanks for having me again. It was a great conversation.
And you can find out more about travelling to Africa with our Solo Travel in Africa guide on the Girl About the Globe website. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to our Girl About the Globe podcast, making solo travel easier for you. Find everything that you need for your solo travels at girlabouttheglobe.com, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.